Welcome to TalkNorth.com. Thanks to our longtime producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. If you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. And please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Two promo codes to be aware of. BiteSquad.com. Use the promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery free. And go to SodaStick.com, the great local apparel company. Use the promo code YouBetcha to get free shipping on any sized order.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Turn this thing up. Let's do this.
You're listening to Steven Strom on TalkNorth.com.
Here we go now on a Sunday morning. Welcome into another edition here of the Strom Sports Show. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. The 4th of July is just ahead here, and free agency in the NBA is coming up. All right here. Big thanks to my producer, Brandon Morton, Jim Suhan, and Matt Augusta. Just got back from St. John's this weekend. We interviewed Greg Williams, played a little horse with him. I posted on the Twitter and Instagram. It is on YouTube. The interview, audio-wise, will be thrown into the episode, and you guys are going to be able to hear that. We've got a lot to get into today with the NBA free agency, especially the Timberwolves. The Twins are sort of in this funk. I know they have a bunch of injuries, and they're supposed to get some of these guys back. But the Twins, who just dropped another game, that's 2 in a row. They lost to the Royals, and then they lost to the White Sox last night, recording on a Saturday. So we'll keep an eye on them. Okay, the Timberwolves. Now, all the rumors are leading towards D'Angelo Russell. And the question is D'Angelo Russell and the Timberwolves a good fit? So ESPN's Zach Lowe reported on his podcast that there's been a lot of noise surrounding the Wolves chasing D'Angelo Russell. Now, in my opinion, the Wolves need and I think a lot of people's opinion, the Wolves need a second star if they're going to even challenge for a playoff spot in the Western Conference. You also have to put in this factor that I think is very big, and that is the relationship between Towns and Russell. If you didn't know this, Karl Towns and D'Angelo Russell have been best friends since high school. They are very close. They communicate often. They really want to play together. At least Towns does, because Towns has been advocating to the media, to the front office, to his teammates. He wants D'Angelo Russell in a Timberwolves uniform. Now, there's a couple of problems here. Number one is the inept contracts that some of these guys are signed under with the Wolves. One of them being Gorgie Dang, the other one being Andrew Wiggins. I know a lot of people have sort of been on this bandwagon of ripping Jeff Teague's contract. I personally like Jeff Teague's game. I don't think he is near any of the problems that the Wolves have had the last few years. I think Jeff Teague is a serviceable, good point guard, so I'm not going to put him in that category. But let's be honest here. The Timberwolves have two of the worst contracts probably in the NBA right now between Andrew Wiggins and Gorgie Dang. Andrew Wiggins is scheduled to get 27, 29, 31, and $33 million over the next 4 years. That is horrible. I mean, that is dreadful. You think about 27, 29, 31, 33 for a guy that plays a 60-year-old basketball game who shoots mid-range jump shots, does not play defense, does not want to show that he wants to get better, has no work ethic. That's who the Timberwolves have put the bank towards. And then they have Gorgie Dang, who is on a 4-year, $64 million contract. Gorgie Dang averages about 6 points a game and doesn't even start for the Wolves. Those are two contracts that you knew, probably not Wiggins, but you had to assume that you knew that the Gorgie Dang contract was a question mark from the beginning. At the time, this is the whole argument about the Parisi and Suter kind of thing with the Wild. Everyone says now, oh, they shouldn't have signed him. No, if you went back in time, you would want them to sign Parisi and Suter. They tried, okay? This is one of those contracts, when they signed Wiggins, you thought, okay, they had to do this kind of thing. And it's turned out to be an absolute travesty. I mean, it has been a disaster, the Andrew Wiggins experiment with the Wolves. So you have two contracts in Gorgie Dang and Andrew Wiggins that you have to figure out. And how they would do this would be a sign and trade. Meaning, You just saw D'Angelo Russell sign with the Nets so he could be a restricted free agent, right? So whatever team offers D'Angelo Russell, the Nets can match it because now he is a restricted free agent. What they're going to do, I don't know, because if they get Kyrie, I think that D'Angelo Russell is out the door. But there are only 9 players under contract if you include the first-round pick, Jared Culver, and 10 if you include the second-rounder, Jalen Noel. Russell is 23 years old, and he's coming off an All-Star appearance. He's coming off a rejuvenated career. He's coming off, he could have won Most Improved behind Pascal Siakam. Siakam deserved it this year, but D'Angelo Russell is a stud, and he's a star. He's able to play both positions, the 1 and 2, which I really like that he's versatile. He can play both positions, and that's big on the Wolves because just say Tyus Jones comes in, they can slide Russell to the 2. Say that Rose wants to play the 2. Russell can slide back to the 1. Right now, I envision a pick and roll offense with D'Angelo Russell and Karl Towns, and I think it's scary good. I really do. I think that they are going to be able to gel instantly. Now, the one thing that you don't like is his inability to play defense. And this has been the biggest problem for the Wolves for decades. Ever since basically Kevin Garnett left, the whole persona of the Wolves have been they don't play any defense. And that changed when Butler came. But when Butler left, it went right back to normal. D'Angelo Russell is not a good defender. Do I think that he can get better? Of course. But he was a liability at times, especially in the playoffs. You saw that in Brooklyn. He's so much more of a scorer than a defender. It's not even funny. But the Wolves are going to have to figure out and how to maneuver some things because even with dumping one of Teague, Dang's, or Wiggins' contracts, they won't have enough to realistically sign Russell. So like I was saying, the more practical option is to do a sign and trade with Brooklyn, assuming they get Kyrie Irving. Now, I don't know if there's going to have to be a third team involved in this, but if the Wolves could build from the ground up with Towns, Russell, and Culver, and have that trio, I think things would look a lot brighter in Minnesota than they have been in a long time. I think that trio of those 3 guys, younger, tough, want to get better, that is the trio that should be moving forward as we approach the 2019-2020 season with the Timberwolves. It's time to move on from the Andrew Wiggins experiment. There are a couple of athletes right now in Minnesota whose time is getting shorter and shorter. One of them being Andrew Wiggins, another of them being Miguel Sano. Now, Sano's in a different spot because the Twins have been so good this year. The only reason why Wiggins is still around is because of how abysmal the Wolves have been the last few years. Granted, that the playoff spot that they made 2 years ago. But you look at these contracts of Dang, $15 million, $16 million, $17 million over the next 3 years, and Wiggins at 27, 29, 31. It has been a disaster. To put it lightly, these are 2 contracts that have basically held back your franchise for at least 5 years. And now you sit in free agency looking to make this move for D'Angelo Russell, and you can't really do it without making some type of big trade. And it already was reported that the Wolves offered Andrew Wiggins for D'Angelo Russell in a straight-up trade for the Nets. The good thing about this is that I think a lot of people may take a chance on Andrew Wiggins just because the guy is so young. Wiggins is 24 years old. He has still a long way to go. And I think if you're one of these teams like the Suns, like the Magic, some of these other teams that are looking to keep growing, Andrew Wiggins might not be the worst option. If the Timberwolves were stuck with this contract in Wiggins' end of his career, they would just have to eat it. But I think in this scenario, they can find a team. They can find a team that says, you know what? We like Andrew Wiggins just on purely athletic ability. If you tell the man to run 100 yards and then to go dunk a basketball, there's going to be some teams that go, whoa, this kid can be really good. Now, we all know that. Wolves fans knows that. Saunders knows that. Towns knows that. But when is he going to make the step? When is he going to make the next step? Knowing him, it'd probably be his last year of his contract. He starts to average 23, 24 points a game, turns into a stud, and then the Wolves are stuck. Okay, well, he had a terrible first 3 years, but he had an outstanding last year of his contract. What do you do? Because that's such a Minnesota-like thing to happen. But a team is going to be able to find a spot for Andrew Wiggins. Who that team will be, I don't know. They're going to have to take some sort of a risk, or the Wolves are going to have to eat some of that contract, because I just don't know at this point if any team with a brain will take that full contract of 27, 29, 31, and 33 over the next 4 years. I mean, that is a ton of money. But the Wolves are stuck here in a peculiar spot where Towns is continuing to go. He's continuing to get older. Yes, I know he's 22. I know he's young. But this is the time. Build around Towns. To build, and then make your run in a few years. I'm not saying the Timberwolves are going to make the playoffs next year. I'm not saying they're going to make it the year after. But don't let this be a Kevin Garnett 2.0 where you have to literally trade him just because you feel so bad of the lack of help and the lack of winning that you have with this team. Because let's be honest, when Garnett went to the Celtics, I became a huge Celtics fan just because you felt bad for Garnett. Garnett never got a fair trade. He never got the help that he needed to win a championship. The guy dragged the Wolves to a conference final that he had no business being in. He goes to Boston, wins a ring, and finally gets that long chase championship. I don't want that to happen with Karl Towns. That's not something that I want. I want Towns to win with the Wolves. But in order to do that, you're going to have to make some changes. You're going to have to go out and sign a big free agent. And one of them is D'Angelo Russell. You have to make this happen. You have to figure out and manage your cap space and try to find a team for Andrew Wiggins. Even if you don't trade Andrew Wiggins, get D'Angelo Russell in a Timberwolves uniform and dump one of the contracts of Teagues or Gorgie Dang. Greg Williams, he is up next. We have Love It or Leave It. Full show for you guys today. Strom Stud of the Week, all that good stuff. Greg Williams, he is up next, the sophomore point guard for St. John's. All right, we are with Greg Williams Jr., sophomore guard here. What's going on, my man? Thank you for giving me the time, brother.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Greg was a four-star recruit out of Louisiana. Let's first start with your transition from Louisiana to the Big Apple, okay? I know we kind of talked about it a little before. What was it like coming from Louisiana, Lafayette, correct?
Yeah.
To Queens, New York, and just the whole aura of New York? Talk a little bit about that.
It was a real interesting experience because just being home, and it's kind of small city, and it's not really that much to do compared to New York. Mm-hmm. So coming here, it was really good to see how many things I could do, and being with my friends. One of my friends, Marcellus, he's from New York, so he really told us and showed us how to get around and stuff like that. So it was real. He made it easier for us. And it was good to bond with them and learn through that experience.
Now this is a big year for you. You led the freshmen on your team in minutes played. You've now Shamori Pons is now on Houston. We know we classify you as a shooting guard. You played point guard last year. What are some goals for you that you're entering your sophomore years with, personally and just as a team?
Really, I just want to be a great leader. Just knowing, watching Shamori and all the guards on the team just lead the team, and me watching, playing, just learning throughout the experience. I feel like I could take on that role and just build on that. So just being a leader and getting everybody involved, and of course getting my own in that experience. So I feel like it's going to be a great year for sure.
Now, we talked a little about Shamori. What are some players that had the biggest influence you? As a freshman, man, it's hard to get acclimated in the beginning of this. You look for leaders to help you through your freshman year. A lot of people talk about the freshman wall and all that kind of stuff. Who are some guys that you kind of leaned on last year as you went through your freshman year?
Well, for sure, it was Justin Simon and Marvin Clark, because even days that I felt, down on myself, they saw it in me and they pushed me through it.